Good evening. The time is now 7:01, and we will call to order the Planning Commission meeting for the City of East Point on November 3rd, 2022. Ms. Holman, please call the roll.
Member Brohl is absent. Member Muniz?
Present.
Member Lubeck?
Present.
Member Naylor is absent. Member Lalonde? Member Ulinski?
Here.
And Member DeHunt is absent.
Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, comments?
Support.
Member Lalonde? Yes. Member Lubeck?
Yes.
Chair Muniz?
Not the chair, but yes.
Interim Chair? Temporary Chair? Member Muniz?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I was nervous.
Member Member and Temporary Chair Ulinski?
Yes. Okay, moving on to the first hearing of the public. If anyone wishes to speak, please walk up to the podium, sign your name on the list. Anyone? At the podium, please. State your name, residence, and sign in, please.
Sean Harris, president of Diablo's Luxury Group Construction Company.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Sean Harris. Thanks for joining us today. We would love to hear from you in a couple items in the future.
Okay.
Okay. So feel free to have a seat and we can continue.
Oh.
Sorry, this is public comment for items not on the agenda. Thank you so much, though. We appreciate you.
Okay, closing first hearing of the public for non-agenda items. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion?
We probably should have amended the agenda to remove the September 1st, 2022 minutes as they were approved at the last meeting. So we don't need to approve those again.
Chair, the minutes had edits from September, so I didn't know if the board wanted to see the edited minutes in order to approve them. City Attorney Chair, do you have any thoughts on that practice?
No, I think that if there are edits, that those should be brought back before the Planning Commission.
Okay, a motion for the approval of the minutes for September 1st, 2022. Mr. Albright, do we need two motions then, one for each set of minutes, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes of September 1st, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
I should say the amended.
The edited, yes.
Also,
A second.
Motion and support. Please call the roll.
Member Lalonde?
Yes.
Member Muniz?
Yes.
Member Lubeck?
yes.
Chair Ulinski?
Yes. Okay, and do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the October 6th, 2022 meeting?
Motion to approve with correction. I believe Mr. Lubeck had a noted correction.
Yes, I'll support that motion, but I do have some corrections. At the beginning, under also present, it lists Dennis Szymanski, building official, and Cardi DeMonico Jr. as city council liaison. Neither were present at that meeting.
Okay, that's motion in support to amend the October 6, 2022 minutes. Please call the roll.
Member Muniz,
Yes.
Member Lubeck,
Yes.
Member Lalonde,
Yes.
Chair Ulinski.
Yes. Moving on, we have a public hearing for anything on the agenda for new business. Do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Chair, would you like me to introduce the project?
Yes, please. Sorry.
Okay. So the reason why there's a public hearing for this project, it's because the zoning ordinance states that all site plans require public hearings, which needs to be amended in order to have a barrier-free path for business and development in East Point. Public hearings cause a nuisance. Not only the developer, but also business owners and city administration, planning commission. Not all site plans need public hearings. If they need public hearings, they are a special land use, and that is just how policy works within the city. So that's why we have a public hearing today. The project within itself, Mr. Sean Harris from Diablo Luxury Group is here to represent their project at 17503 Stevens, located in the B3 General Business District. The applicant proposes to establish a storage addition to their already construction-related office. So they have a construction management company, they have an office building in the B3 district, they propose to add an addition to that building. And the applicant is here to represent their project. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Sean Harris, president of Diablo's Luxury Group Construction Company.
Mr. Harris, excuse me, I'm sorry. Did you sign in on the sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Should I? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're just trying to add on an addition to the building so we can store scissor lifts and bulldozers, mini bulldozers anyway, and other tools to be inside the storage added on to the building. Because I'm paying too much money anyway in the public storage. So,
Chair. Okay, and so the planner included their site plan review within your packet, and recommendation of the planning department is to approve the commercial, or approve the, sorry, we usually have the language here. Approve the storage addition located at 17503 Stevens. And we do have a follow-up question. We want to understand how many employees are at the site, so we know that there's sufficient amount of parking.
yes, it's just my secretary, Sonia, just works there. This is just a corporate office where we, actually crunch numbers, but I was going to keep my equipment at that location as well.
Okay, Chair, the project meets all of the requirements in the site plan.
Thank you, Ms. Brzezinski.
In doing the addition, are you displacing some parking spaces? But right now, you park behind the building, right?
Yes, it was, we can, if, how they got it, set up on the blueprint, they have it where we can just pull in and still have the equipment that needed to be inside the building at the same time.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant?
There was a question under number 7 about the exterior lighting, that there would have to be a relocation of the current lighting for proper design. Have you yet had an opportunity to present the proposed fixtures and where they'll be?
Yeah, see, it's 3 lights, if you're talking about for the outside. Okay, so you got the 3 lights already on the building already. So we're just gonna put 3 more lights going down the road, going towards the alley, because it's gonna be a 20 by 40 addition.
So is the submission of the cut sheets, is that requisite before your office can go forward with this, or is he pretty much good to go?
That's a great question. So the planning department reviews a site plan, which is the physical, like everything that involves the exterior quality of a project. So the exterior is what the site plan represents and what we review. But the building department then would move forward to review any specific cut sheets related to construction of the addition. And that's when they issue their certificate of compliance.
So having the lack of those cut sheets is not a barrier to us making a decision tonight to move forward?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Are we accepting questions from the public yet, or do they? Not yet, okay. I was told that there was time, there was I came in to City Hall earlier this week, and that, because, are we talking about the first hearing of the public?
There is a second hearing of the public later.
Right, so I was told if I missed the first one, I could be here for the second one?
Correct.
Okay, and I can still talk about this, because I had some questions.
In the past, we've usually allowed anybody in the affected area to ask their questions during the review. So if there is something that needs to be addressed, now would be the time to do it. If the resident was to wait till after the second hearing of the public, all the decisions are made.
Chair? We are in the agenda item of public hearing, which means that we are here to address the members of the public on this item. Right now, we are just presenting the project, and then we can call for a hearing of the public. Well, to actually hear the public. We are in the hearing of the public.
Okay, so we're not making any motions on it right now, we're just discussing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Actually, I hate to jump. Can I clarify? I thought we were in new business A at this point.
Correct.
I'm confused about because we started introducing it, like, we did the hearing of the public, approval of minutes, then it says public hearings, none, right? And then new business, so I was confused a second ago. But what I was gonna say, it's up to, I think, your discretion to do what Mr. Luback said, though, for sure. But I think we're on first new business A right now, though, right?
Chair, you opened the hearing to the public. We're on this agenda item. We have not closed the hearing to the public. It's an error in the agenda that I presented to the chair at the beginning of the meeting. We do have a hearing of the public, and if you heard me speak during the meeting, I said why we have a hearing of the public, and it's because all site plans require a public hearing in the zoning ordinance, which is kind of crazy because usually we're not used to that in cities. So we are in the public hearing.
And she may have her say.
Okay. All right, I didn't know.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Harris? Thank you, sir.
All right, no problem.
Does anyone else have anything to say?
Would this be an appropriate time?
Yes.
Yes, just step up to the podium, please sign your name
Sure.
and state your name and residence, please.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for your patience. I haven't been to one of these meetings before, and so so appreciate it. So I think I came in at sort of one of the answers to my questions, but if it's two-part question, one's a parking and one's a lighting question. Which it sounds like the parking one was answered because I was looking at the plans and because the new expansion would be going into current parking and all that's left is alley.
I'm
was-
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We didn't get your name.
Oh, sorry, Everett Pine, hello.
Thank
East
you.
Point resident. Yeah. So, so there wouldn't be parking behind the building, and I was wondering how many cars would be regularly parked there. If it was just inside the building, that's one thing. If it was along the street, you know, it is a residential street with houses. So I was just wondering, like, what residents should expect with the number of vehicles regularly there for the business, seeing as there's no behind building parking anymore. And I caught the inside of the building part, which I have no problem with, but I just would have a little concern if there was gonna be lots of cars or big vehicle, you know, like construction vehicles or something that would be on the street. So if I missed part of that, I don't know if property owner would like to speak again, or if you all had the answer to that question. If there would be more, basically the question is there going to be vehicles parked beyond inside the garage?
So as we understand it, all equipment will be inside.
Okay, including any vehicles. Right, so like there's the equipment for the the company.
The equipment will be right housed.
And the one vehicle. There's two vehicles, but one spot in the garage. So do we know where the second vehicle is parked? Because they saw that was one of the recommendations, provide how many employees will be working in the largest shift and the layout of parking spaces on the site. So if there's two cars, I was just curious where the second car would be, since what's left is street parking. Is it big enough for two? Oh, 4 cars, wow, okay. I've looked at that area so much, I'm like imagining, cars there, okay. Okay, so I guess the city and the people who are in charge of approving it are, like that meets code to have just 2 car, like if there was a car on the street or something like that.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
It sounds like the 2 cars will be in the building. I mostly was curious because this was a stipulation of the proposal from the, what does this say? From the planning commission, part of the site plan signed by Alicia Warren, and I'm trying to see if Alicia Warren is here. No. That just required to know that information before it was approved. So I was just wondering what the layout of parking spaces would be on the site, since that was part of what was needed before approving it. So I guess that's the question. What's the layout of the parking? Is it just in the building? Is it outside the building as well?
The parking for the employees.
Yes.
So there's one in Mr. Harris.
Okay.
And there is parking behind the building for both of those vehicles, as I am understanding it.
Behind the building would be
Chair?
in the alleyway.
Yes.
Sorry, we have to refer to the chair when we want to speak during our public meeting.
Oh,
But thank you for your comments, Everett. We appreciate it. I know it's your first meeting. So Chair, if there's a question about parking and layout, we can ask the applicant. But I hear that we have additional spaces behind the building still with the addition. And I will remind everyone that public streets, residential streets, are public streets. And that means that they're public parking. We asked in the planning report how many employees will be at the site. There's 1 employee, which means 1 parking space.
okay. Thank you. That clarifies it. I appreciate that. The second question, the final question, just had to do with lighting. It said the exterior lighting would had 1 wall pack lighting on the proposed addition. I'm very familiar with this property, so I know the 3 lights that are along the side. So this is the light that would be on the back of the garage, which, as far as I know about lighting, would be like the light that is currently on the back of the building, but is, you know, not like it's further inset to the property. And I wanted it to be considered that instead of a wall pack lighting, which is like multi-directional and is a lot of light pollution, if there could be kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but a consideration to have it be a lighting that is pointed down, because everything behind that building is houses. And right now, with the light receded further into the property, it mostly just hits alley. But once that property line is up to the alley, it's just going into yards, including mine. And it is, like I said, it's just basically all the directions. And it's kind of like a floodlight, but floodlights can be pointed down, in which case it would still light the back of the property. And so if there's nothing legally or that's going to affect the passing of the proposal, I would just ask that it be updated to reflect lighting that would decrease the light pollution in a residential neighborhood that I live in.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something that can be, like, added into the motion tonight that you are, it sounds like you're approving this or not approving this, like you're deciding approval tonight, that would be added into the final approval?
Currently, it's just a discussion.
Sure, currently it's just a discussion, but I get the impression that the idea is by the end of the night, there would be a determination. Is that correct?
So we're just discussing right now. Thank you for your input. There are ordinances for lighting as well,
Okay.
which would address your concerns.
Okay, and how would I make use of this ordinance today or at a later time?
Madam Chair, if I may interrupt.
Yes.
At the public hearing, again, it's your first meeting, you present the issues that you have. It's not a Q&A. So present
Okay.
the issues that you have, and then there will be a discussion among the members.
I see.
Okay.
A discussion tonight or discussion later?
It is tonight.
Okay.
Once the public hearing is over for this item.
Okay, I
So
appreciate that
present
clarification.
your concerns,
Sure.
as I believe you have, and then we can,
Those were my concerns. Otherwise, I'm all thumbs up for my neighbors. So, okay, thank you for hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair, do you want me to address any of the comments now or as we enter new business and close the public hearing?
We can do it when we do new business, if that's okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Excuse me. Madam Chair, may I speak on a point of order?
Yes.
Ms. Naylor joined the meeting at 7:18, and I think the minutes should appropriately reflect that.
so noted, thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. Ms. Braszewski, do you want to continue?
Okay.
Please.
Hi, everyone. And thanks for attending today, Everett. Nice to meet you. I hope to see you in more meetings. It's good to have more members of the public. So,
Appreciate the notification so that I can attend.
Mr. Harris, I don't know if there's any other questions from the board, but I can address as the planner some of the comments brought forward about the lighting. And we do have a lighting ordinance, as you're right, section 5162 in the zoning ordinance. It's a lighting section of the zoning ordinance. So when we get the cut sheet, we can authorize approval of the site plan as an administrative decision. And all lighting within 300 feet of a property, 30 feet of a residential property require 250 watts or less. And the lighting structure must be cast downward. So all of these things are already under consideration. Forgive the planner for not including it in their report.
Okay, moving on to new business item B. Oh, back up.
So I believe we need to have a motion
Yes.
to either approve or deny or conditionally approve a site plan for 17503 Stevens.
Madam Chair, if I may, before we
Yes.
do the motion, just for point of clarification, because it may not have gotten picked up on the mics, I wanted to make sure that I understood and that everyone else had this understanding, that the 850 square foot structure can house up to 4 vehicles. However, the maximum number of employees expected to park there is only 2. Is that everyone else's understanding? Am I understanding that correctly? I guess, is it appropriate that we ask the owner just for that clarification?
Do you mean parking for the equipment?
I understood that to be parking for the equipment as well as the employees, but I could be wrong about that.
Mr. Harris, could
Could
you
you come
please?
to the mic? Oh, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, I apologize. Wrong meeting to be chair.
So the parking for the equipment is like a scissors lift, a 19-foot scissors lift. It can be, parked in the back of the building, like it's already, the back of the building, because the new part would be going towards the alley. But as you go to the back, the beginning of the building, it'd be parked. It's, a 19-foot scissors lift is not that big, and then the miniature bulldozer is not that big. So both of those parked in the back by the door that's existing now, would be pushed to the back. But the 2 cars, if I needed to come in, it would be enough space for 2 more other cars to come in, because my secretary, her car is real small. So, and then I have a truck, so I can just, it can, trust me, it'll work. It'll pull right in. Yep.
And just as one last point of clarification, Mr. Lubick, I just wanted to make sure that we understood as well that in addition to that parking, there is also public parking, which Ms. Bravashevsky made very clear. Public parking is for the whole public, including an employee that may pull up and park there. So it sounds like we have more than enough adequate space to park for both employees and general public. That's all.
Mr. Lubeck?
Mr. Harris, are you planning to park any construction equipment outside?
No, sir.
So there will be no construction equipment parked outside overnight or over a weekend or anything?
I have another location across the street from Fox 2 News over there on West 9 Mile. I have another location over there. That's where I parked it bigger.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that. If anything, it would only be parked there temporarily while you're moving in or out another piece of equipment.
Yeah, I would never bring anything that's immense over to the new site over here, because it's not that, kind of area where you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay, no problem.
Chair,
Yes.
if it's a concern, Planning Commission could offer a condition. If you approve the site plan, you could offer a condition stating that no construction vehicles should be parked outside, like on the residential street or without proper shielding.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to grant the site plan approval for the proposed addition at 17503 Stevens.
Do we have support?
We're not going to add any conditions, like no construction equipment? You just want just the motion to approve the site plan?
I have not heard anything tonight that leads me to believe that the owner would be using the public parking for that purpose. I think that's the whole point of going through the extra measure of adding 850 square foot building to house equipment. So I've not heard anything tonight, to say that he's either parked large equipment there before now, or that he has intent to do that after he's put in the money to build that structure. So I didn't see that as a cause or a pause for concern that would be violated.
I'll second your motion.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Member Munoz?
Yes.
Member Lalonde?
Yes.
Member Lubeck?
Yes.
Chair Ulinski?
Yes. Commissioner Naylor is here.
I will abstain due to my tardiness and didn't have a full conversation.
Moving on to item B under new business. Consider adoption of 2023-2024 Planning Commission meeting calendar. Do we have,
Yeah, hi everyone. This calendar's pretty straightforward. It's just a list of dates for the upcoming year and all of the rest of the fun we're gonna have as a planning commission. Thank you.
You know, I don't recall anything in my packet that talks about this.
it's right here.
Maybe I missed it. Oh, is that it? Yeah. My mistake. Sorry.
A big thing that says commission meeting schedule and submission deadlines. Does anyone have any comments or?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve that. If we can get a second, then we can have a discussion. So I,
Want to discuss that after the motion?
typically you have a motion and a support, and then you have a discussion.
Okay. Do we have motion and support? for
You
the-
have a motion.
Do we have support? Motion and support, please call the roll.
No, now we have the discussions.
Oh, sorry. Forgive the rookie mistakes, please.
They will be forgiven, but not forgotten.
All right, I'm just going to apologize for the rest of the night. All right. Mr. Lubeck, please tell us your discussion points.
I have nothing to discuss. I'm okay with those meeting dates. They seem all in line. It's not like we're falling on a 4th of July or something when we would have to move a date for one reason or another.
Yeah,
And we're
actually,
early enough in the month, we never conflict with Thanksgiving.
anyone else? Any other discussion? Motion and support, please call the roll.
Member Lubeck?
Yes.
Member Lalonde?
Yes.
Member Munoz?
Yes.
Member Naylor? Member Chair Ulinski?
Yes. All right, moving on to unfinished business, zoning ordinance update. Ms. Waszewski?
All right, we're back at it again, everyone, for stage 5, or Act 5 of our zoning ordinance update for the city of East Point. And thank you for joining us, Councilmember DeMonico. I know you're part of the steering committee, so it's good to always have your feedback. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have a steering committee a couple weeks ago, or last week. I was sick, full disclosure. Feeling a lot better now.
Yay.
Thank you. But we do have upcoming meetings scheduled. So the next one will be November 22nd, and then we have one December 15th. So we still didn't lose a meeting. We're making up on December 15th. Today, I'd like to discuss the overview of the use table, get your feedback on where we'd like to see uses in each zoning district. And we won't go through the whole table unless you want to. I really want your feedback on a couple of strategic uses. And then we'll go into where you would like to have your light industrial district. We do have some feedback from the steering committee on this, and also to understand what types of light industrial uses you would like in this district. And then we're gonna pause our parking on our conversation on parking until our Chair DeHunt is back, because I know that he requested this conversation. And we will also discuss the development review process. So those 3 items, it'll be fun, it's strategic and quick, So first thing first, the overview of the use table. Right now, the city of East Point does not have a use table, and use tables are quite clever because it's 1, 2, 3 pager of all the different uses in one column, and then the rest of the columns are the zoning districts. So you can see this in your packet. You received the attached packet? Okay, perfect. And we're creating a use table, which is helpful for businesses as they look to see where their business, their column, the use, is allowed in the zoning ordinance and in each zoning district. So the first thing I want to ask your feedback on, this is an informal conversation, as we usually do, so please just make some exchanges and conversation with me. But event halls, where do you want or not want to see event halls in your community? And do you want them to be a special land use or an automatically permitted use? What are your thoughts, planning commissioners?
So if I may ask a question along those lines, since we have them everywhere, if there's an area that we do not want them in, the ones that are currently there would be grandfathered?
Yes, they would be legally non-conforming uses.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
point.
Chair?
yes, Mr. Lubeck.
I think they should be special land uses, simply because for the period of time in which they are occupied, they are and can be very intense, which is kind of why we want to look at special land uses where they're a little bit more intense than what a normal business might be at that location.
Do you have any feedback on what districts you would like them in or not like them in? So we've got our neighborhood mixed-use district. That'll be, if we go to our reference page, Kelly Road, Stevens, Beaconsfield, Topher. And then we have our Main Street district, which will be 9 Mile. Our regional mixed-use districts, 8 and 10, and Gratiot, non-downtown. Just so you know, we've always considered event halls as more regional uses because they serve the region as opposed to a local neighborhood use.
And that was going to be my thought. A neighborhood mixed use is not where I'd want to see an event hall. I don't know about anyone else.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think when you get to areas like Kelly Road, Stevens, Beaconsfield, Topher, you run the risk of having those long conversations like we had a couple of months ago about where will the neighbors park when the event space is in use. So going forward, if we could avoid the neighborhoods, then it would avoid that discussion, at least in part.
All right, if there's no other comments on that,
I don't think I'd want to see it in the Gratiot downtown.
okay.
I'm just trying to think of the master plan. I think that would help us figure out where to best put event places. Like if we're going to use Kelly or do the 9 Mile redo, do we want event halls in those spaces or do we want to attract different types of businesses? Is that kind of what, yeah.
And I guess I kind of tend to think a little bit differently when it comes to the Gratiot downtown area, just because I feel like where you see traffic is where you attract people. And so when I think of, when I go to visit other communities and I'm just a visitor, I want to be where stuff is happening. And even if it's not an event that I'm invited to, when I see that the public is using a particular area rather assertively, it is drawing, it is attractive, and it also, I think, causes other businesses in that area to want to group around that because they get more visibility. So, to me, I see it as more of an attraction and less of a detraction from the city. But
Madam Chair, may I add to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was feeling the same way because you think about the hub of like other communities, where there's gatherings and activity, especially when you want to see more density in your downtown area, and an event being held and you see people coming and going, you're going to get exposed to the rest of the community that may not normally be in our community. And they're in the midst of the downtown hub, say, oh, I can come back and do some other shopping, I can come back and do some other events, because they like that community of a vibrancy of a downtown. So I would think something like events, gatherings, will bring some of that vibrancy to a downtown area versus being a distraction, so that it exposes our community.
And my thought was more like if you have events, like we used to have the farmer's market at Eastbrook Commons, as opposed to having an event hall. Events like that, I would want to come back for. Seeing people at an event hall, I just personally, I guess, don't think it would, because it's at night and everything's closed at night in that area. I understand both points. It's definitely two sides.
Madam Chair? if I
Yes,
may.
please.
I guess, not to have a personal opinion, but it seems that the event halls, people come, they are there for that event, and then they leave. It doesn't seem to create walkability or visiting other businesses. I believe a lot of the events seem to be in the evenings and later nights, as opposed to a business that's open during business hours or even in the evenings for the public in general. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Mrs. Holman. Mr. Lubeck?
I was reflecting on the number of events I've gone to at halls or event locations. And as Ms. Holman was speaking, I go in, I go to the event, and I leave. I'm really not looking at the neighborhood or the businesses that are there. And if I've traveled 30, 40, 50, 60 miles to get there, to be honest with you, I really kind of don't care what businesses are there. So I very much am in alignment with what Ms. Holman is saying is, though they do show a vibrancy, I don't know that they become something that draws people otherwise to the area.
May I say anything?
Yes.
So we're talking about our downtown area, and we're talking about what we want our downtown area to be. Do we want a downtown that's not alive at 6 o'clock? Do we want a downtown that's not going to have an attractiveness in the evenings of summer? That if someone is there, they say, oh, these other activities are happening in a vibrant downtown that we're trying to bring. I'm not saying that an event hall is going to do that, but if there's activities and engagement, people are seeing more activity downtown, it could encourage more business ideas for the area. Now, I have gone to event halls and I said, like, oh my God, I didn't know this was here. So it does kind of introduce you to other communities if you don't typically go there. And being that this is, we're going to put in a downtown and we're trying to make for our walkable 9 mile, I don't see it being walkable to be shut down at 7 o'clock. So I'm just saying it could be a catalyst of adding to what we're attempting to do in our 9 mile corridor. Not that it's saying it's going to make somebody come back, but as we introduce more opportunities, there'll be more things that are visible to a concentrated group of people.
And if I could add, not to be the dead horse, but, which this one is alive and well, but I think event space is also used beyond the evening hour. You know, I think of most major events that I've gone to, it's been up in the day on a Saturday in the afternoon or It begins at least at early evening on a Saturday, or even on a Sunday. If you're going for a repast, for example, that's typically up in the day. So again, it's just another opportunity for people to come into your community. I think my greater question, regardless of where the event space would be located, my bigger question would be parking, which is why I would be opposed to it being in a neighborhood and would prefer it in a downtown area, because then you would want to look at options for good parking, options for shared parking. So if an event space is going to be created and they're able to also provide parking that could be used when they're not using it and can be used by other businesses, that would be my bigger question, would be parking, as opposed to whether or not it should or should not be in a downtown area as an attraction.
So I don't feel the parking that we have in our downtown is really adequate for an event space. And we do have the Gratiot non-downtown area. That's a regional mixed use. That's more suiting for an event hall. Just my thoughts. Mr. Lubeck.
Maybe consider it this way: in the limited amount of downtown space we have, I would much rather see a venue there that maybe offers musicians an open mic night, maybe some stand-up comedy, if that ever comes back into being again. Something where the public can attend. Restaurants with entertainment and so forth. If you allow an event space to occupy that building, you have just shut out those other businesses that would be more of a draw and show more of a vibrant, lively downtown environment. I look at the event space as pretty much, this is a private club. For the amount of time that it's rented, this is a private club. It may look like a great time's going on there, but the public you're trying to draw into a downtown and have them walk around isn't going to be allowed in there. I've never heard of a Wedding Crashers event hall, so.
Hey,
Well, as a fellow
Chair?
musician, I would say I'd agree wholeheartedly with us having a space where I could go and jam. So if you want to find an investor to create that, I'll be the first open mic night. That notwithstanding,
But if we allow an event hall to occupy that spot, that's not going to happen.
well, not necessarily. It may not happen in that space. Doesn't mean it can't happen. And if we were dreaming right now, I think we have to remember from a perspective that right now we are in the dream phase of envisioning what we want our city to look like. So it's really you could have it all at this point, because we're dreaming ahead. We're not being confined to what we currently have. So let's not forget that this is, when you dream as a visionary, you want to look at the full scope of things and look at the possibilities that could be, as opposed to confining yourself to what is. Madam Chair?
Yes,
So
Ms.
I think a good comparison is the 7 Mile Livernois area in Detroit. And there's an event space that's used for multiple purposes. It's not just for showers and things, but they do pop-ups. They bring live music. They've done various things, and there's not a whole lot of parking over there. And people walk that extra block for an event that's being held. So we may be thinking of event spaces for certain uses, but if it's in the downtown, it opens up an opportunity. That music event can be, used at that venue. They've had, when they did Light Up Livernois, they turned that event space into a beautiful venue where you can go listen to live music. But that same venue may be used at another time, like say just for retail pop-up, or it might be used for a personal baby shower. So I think having the space, because it has multi-use, we're not fixed to one business, but several businesses can use that space, and we can create, it could be a farmer's market day on a Saturday afternoon. It could be whatever it can be leased for, and get the community involved. It's in a neighborhood that can be used for, new uses that we may not have thought of. It may not be something someone wants to do permanently, but it's a good place to test businesses, test markets, and just see what kind of, activity we engage.
Good point.
I've seen
Thank
it
you.
worked on 7 Mile and Livernois.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Did the Planning Commission receive the DDA parking study that was completed? Does that sound familiar? This would have been June 2022, it looks
We
like.
did get that.
Okay. Would you like me to forward it on again in case anyone didn't see it?
Yeah, you said that was in June?
For the use.
Oh, please.
All right. Then you don't have to search for it. I was already starting the email, so I can just hit send in a second. Then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, absolutely.
Can't really see up there. The only thing with the, what was mentioned about a pop-up or that, something like that, that creates a change of use of occupancy. And so that requires a new business license, that requires new inspections every time they do that. You can't go from having an assembly on a Friday to a mercantile business on a Saturday. So that would change some things with that. So if it's licensed and inspected as an assembly usage, then it's an assembly usage. If you're gonna start selling things in there, then that creates a whole different set of problems.
That's a great point. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
I don't know what
Sorry,
happens in
what?
East Point, if I may say, but I know in the city of Detroit, you can go get those one-day use permits, and you have to get license, a business license for that particular use. I don't know if East Point offers that, but I know in the city of Detroit, if you're gonna do an event, I've done it for other events when I was in my corporate world. We use a space that's not ordinary, and you get a special one day. I don't know if we do that here.
Chair,
Yes, please.
we offer temporary use permits through the building department. That was the question. So we've discussed event halls, and I think a couple members spoke a couple times, and we didn't hear from one member, but we have more items to discuss. So if we'd like to just give your feedback, I know this is good conversation, we're all learning a lot from each other, but if we just want to keep moving forward, provide your feedback, and then move on to the other items so we can make sure we can address everything, that would be fantastic.
Agree.
All right. And I hear you, we want events downtown, whether it's event halls or not, we all want events. So
Yes.
that's our common goal here. If it's okay, can we move on to the next use?
Motor on.
Drive-through facility. Where do we not, let's start with there. Where do we not want to see drive-through facilities? Like a bank and a drive-through restaurant? Other drive-through things. Starbucks drive-through? Where do we not want that?
Okay, Starbucks drive-through, that's a little different.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
Just forget I said it.
You can put that anywhere. No restriction.
Anywhere or for some people, nowhere.
We should write our zoning ordinance to be like that.
I'm open to drive-through. I think it just offers a level of convenience. I like drive-through.
What was that, Commissioner?
I'm open to drive-throughs. I think it offers a level of convenience for engagement for businesses.
Where
I
are
know.
you open to them?
I think in all of our areas where, let me see, most of the business like on Kelly, Stephen, I don't even think we have any feasibility. I know when we did the Foot Locker drive-through, that was like about the only business on Kelly that could even accomplish putting the drive-through. So if you were going to say neighborhoods, it's somewhat restricted in those 4 streets that we currently have. But downtown, our 9 Mile, 8 miles, 10 Mile regional, mixed use, some of that mixed use had drive-through opportunities. It will help recruit, especially talk about anchor tenants that have that opportunity.
I think it works on the major mile roads, like 8 Mile, 9 Mile.
Agree.
I don't necessarily see it as being so user-friendly in other areas, and definitely not in neighborhoods, unless it's Starbucks. That's my only caveat.
We'll put that on your block.
Just kidding.
I just think that wherever a drive-through goes, obviously has to have ample space, because we've seen like Tim Hortons back up onto streets. We know McDonald's has put in the second drive-through to accommodate traffic. That's my only concern.
And when I think about that, where the old Standard Federal used to be at 9 and 94, that's another just kind of awkward placing for getting in and out, so.
And I know the credit union on Topher and Gratiot, I've never seen a credit union have so much drive-through traffic with the ATMs, but they have a huge parking lot which can accommodate the stacking of the cars. That's just what I worry about, is them being able to accommodate, not drip onto the public right-of-ways.
And when I think of downtown areas, I don't generally think of drive-through businesses.
Correct.
More of park and walk. Although I'm thinking in our downtown area, there's a drive-through at the Rite Aid. There's a drive-through at First State Bank. I don't know what the name of the bank is, if it's even still a bank, across from the high school track.
Oh, that was Bank of America.
It was Bank of America, and it was Standard Federal before that. I'm not going to go any farther back, don't worry.
Okay, I was gonna say, are we gonna hear all of the driving? I swear to God, I don't know
Well,
if
you
I
know,
can
in
do that.
Aughton 9,
I might
it used
just
to be.
blow. I don't think I can do
Okay.
All
Be
right.
nice or I'll hit you with my cane.
Well, so I did hear 8 Mile and spaces, we want to account for car stacking, so we need to have enough space.
Definitely special land use.
I did not write down 9 Mile, if that's okay, because we have our 9 Mile corridor plan, which is geared towards making this our main street, and to be walkable, we don't want drive-throughs. So, I did not include that. Gas station. I'm bringing up all the good ones here.
I guess.
I think those are going to be obsolete in 20 years,
We have
aren't
charging
they?
stations now, so
Okay.
we have to
Charging
look at
stations?
charging stations.
You can keep your electric vehicles.
I mean, gas stations are like on all four corners everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Where do you not want them, or where do you want them? Should we say
St.
where
Clair
do you want
Shores?
them? What?
Trying to see if somebody's paying attention.
No, I mean, that raises a really big question, because, I mean, we talk about gas stations right now, and it really is going to become something that's obsolete. So
Well, I know we don't want any more in the downtown area.
we got the 9 Mile field right now at Gratiot.
We have our one non-conformance.
There's 2 on 9 Mile. 2 or 3.
Well, you've got the Speedway.
It's more than 3, because there's also.
You've got what used to be
Here we go.
the one at 9 and Kelly. A little bit farther down at 9 and Rosalind, there's a gas station.
And
Then there's the mobile station down around Brittany. And then I think you've got to go all the way to 9 and
Speedway.
Gratiot before you get to the next one.
Should we
And
talk
then there's-
charging stations? What do you want charging stations to look like? That's what we're gonna be doing.
I don't know, but if you go on the historic building page on Facebook, you can see a lot of the old charging stations from 100 years ago. They were quite nice-looking buildings. But you actually pulled your vehicle in there and charged it.
So do we have any place we would like to see gas stations? Or do we not want to see them at all?
Or do we want to just only have the ones we have?
Exactly.
Yeah, the ones we have, I think, is enough for the
Sufficient.
community. Sufficient for the community.
All right. Hookah lounge or cigar lounge?
No hookah lounge.
Well, it's considered the same.
So we had a hookah lounge.
Uh-oh.
It was horrific.
An illegal one. Like that.
Is that the one on Gratiot and Tophet?
Yeah.
Constant trouble.
It used to be a flower shop.
Avon. Avon. I think the cigar lounges are great. That seems to be a good thing. I mean, if we could emulate something like Churchill's on Mac, that'd be awesome. Not that I smoke cigars, but I'm just saying. It's a great gathering place from what I hear.
Yeah, I think if they were on the mile roads, you know,
I think something like that might be an attraction in a downtown area.
Yep.
Especially if they had a liquor license.
Yeah, I think
Good
Churchill's
bourbon or
does.
brandy with a cigar.
I think Churchill's has a,
I've never been to Churchill's.
Oh.
Somewhere I probably need to go.
yeah. My son tells me, that's how I know. Why are you two giggling over there?
I'm listening. I'm listening. Would we care to see a hookah or cigar lounge in our neighborhood mixed-use district? That's Kelly, Stevens, Topher, Beaconsfield?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't think so.
Leo.
I don't know, as we're,
Would Leo say, would council member, or sorry, commissioner?
He said no.
some of our visioning for Kelly Road, it doesn't seem like it would be out of place.
That's what I'm thinking. Because you were talking about restaurants and kind of stuff like that, and that
Yeah.
would be a complimentary business.
There we go, a combination cigar bar and microbrewery.
all three.
Speaking of microbrewery, where would you like to see microbreweries?
Everywhere.
Kelly Road between, like Lister and Rosetta.
Mrs. Muniz wants Starbucks. I'll take a microbrewery on my corner, please.
And a wine
Downtown.
tasting room, and
Nah.
now we're talking.
Bring the cheese.
Oh, a cheese house, that's a great idea.
Downtown?
Yes.
Downtown would be cool.
Yeah,
Even non-downtown, Gratiot non-downtown.
Yeah, Gratiot downtown. I
I,
think Kelly can support some.
Yes, agree.
Kelly. We got enough business in those areas that could
Mhm.
support. I don't know about the other two streets.
Stevens?
I would say no.
What'd you say, Commissioner?
I would say no to Stevens. I would say yes to Kelly, downtown Gratiot, non-downtown Gratiot, and the 8 Mile, 9 Mile, where you have like the shop overlays and things, mixed use.
except for that one stretch of Stevens, I think of Stevens as primarily residential.
Correct, correct. Next.
Okay. Hotel motel?
I'm sorry, I'm just snickering that the police chief isn't here.
We have enough of that?
So no hotels or motels?
No new ones.
Well,
Okay.
I could
Unless it's gonna be a real.
In the downtown area, if we could get, oh gee, I don't know how to say this in a politically correct manner.
Mrs.
Get
Naylor
something
just-
that's not a no-tell motel.
Yes.
You know, actually get a Ritz-Carlton or
boutique
something.
Yes.
hotel or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boutique hotel.
Great word, great word.
Because if you're going to be walking the downtown or 9 Mile and you want to stay the night, um,
And when you've
Right.
had just a little bit too much at that microbrewery.
right,
For the wine tasting.
yeah.
Okay, the last one. Vehicle
What?
stuff.
What kind?
So
Oh, vehicle.
vehicle repair shop, vehicle sales, vehicle wash facility.
Not downtown, not residential.
The way some of those operate, I'm thinking special land use.
Stevens Industrial is a good area. Or 10 Industrial, I meant, sorry. But there's not really anywhere over there either.
Non-downtown.
They're
Gratiot.
grandfathered for whatever they want.
Actually, sorry, so the steering committee did make a suggestion on this, and they said only around 8 Mile. Do you agree?
No.
No.
As people live up at 10 Half, wanna go all the way down and get a car washed.
8 Mile, 10 Mile.
I say the mile roads.
9 Mile.
9 Mile, 8, 9, and 10 Mile.
We don't need any more on 9 Mile.
Not
mean,
so
but-
much 9 Mile with the
but
new
8 and
vision for
10.
9 Mile.
Yeah, 8 and 10. And then non-downtown Gratiot.
Okay, yeah.
If we could take that empty lot on 8 Mile and do something spectacular with that. The old Evergreen.
You mean the old Farmer Jack?
No, that was 9 in Kelly.
No, there was one down there before it was Evergreen.
Oh, really?
Are there any other uses that you'd like to discuss before we move to the industrial district?
Nope.
Okay, so moving to the industrial district. Sorry, this map's blurry. We'll fix that. It's not your vision. It's the map. Full disclosure. But we discussed in the steering committee different areas that we'd like to see a light industrial district. So we discussed 10 Mile east of Gratiot. That's where the Saxony place is. Some school bus storage, it looks like. So we're that area. And then we also discussed Stevens east of Gratiot. This idea came from a tour with the Macomb County Economic Development Team. We took them on a tour around East Point, showing them key projects. And one member had an idea that that area right along Stevens and Gratiot looks like an industrial corridor. And if we designate it, I mean, it is an industrial corridor. We've got the Veterans Memorial vacant spot and the 2 storage complexes. So one proposed storage complex, it's not yet built, and then the existing storage complex. So he had the idea that we could apply for an industrial facilities tax exemption plan for that area if we do want to keep it as industrial. And we know that today industrial properties are lucrative for cities to hold on to. They offer areas or spaces for businesses to set up and perform research or light assembly projects. The reason why I say light is because we're not directing factories to come into East Point. We don't have that space or type of city that would support that use, but it's a light industrial district. What are your thoughts on where the light industrial district should be? Do you like any of those suggestions?
Yes.
Do you
I
not
do.
like any of them?
those are the better locations.
Okay. So if we go back to our use page, you can see some of the industrial uses on page 6. We also include veterinary clinic and recycling facility. I don't know if veterinary clinic is industrial, probably not, but recycling facility. Out of all these uses, would you like to see these uses as a permitted use or special land use or not permitted in the Stevens, in Gratiot corridor and the 10-mile?
So I have a question on the recycling,
Okay,
and I'm a big recycler.
all right.
But I also have a friend who lives in Florida behind a recycling lot, and it's crazy loud. I mean, that's industrial over there, but it's, I'm mixed on that. I don't know. Maybe
I guess I would have phrased the question differently in that, describe for me what you mean by a recycling facility.
I don't have any other answers besides just recycling facility.
I mean, is it
That's-
a place like where you go and you drop off your old electronics and things like that? Or is it actually a place where you're processing and sorting and
Yeah, the processing
crushing
is-
and
yeah.
dismantling?
The latter.
I would say a drop-off center more so.
You said the latter.
Drop-off centers.
Okay.
I've seen some of those going across 8 Mile, but it's just drop-off centers.
You said the latter, and I would be absolutely opposed to that anywhere in East Point.
Okay.
Simply because of the noise and
Space.
potential smells and
Commissioner, you said drop-off center. Is this a recycling drop-off center?
Yeah, drop-off, like you can bring in corrugated paper,
Okay.
but not actually processing, like you say, it is like a manufacturing of some sorts.
Okay, thank you. Construction equipment, sales and repair. Do you just want to, I don't know. Do you want to tell me what uses you want on this page?
I'm just thinking if you're gonna, if you'd have auto shops over there, how much different is that kind of repair? Did you just snicker?
I'm just thinking of all the different types of construction equipment that's possible. It's not all going to be little
Right,
bobcat
right.
bulldozers and scissor lifts. We're talking potentially some really huge equipment. I'm falling in the trap of thinking we don't have anywhere where that would fit right now. Not to say we couldn't designate an area that could become that.
I'd just like to remind everyone too, all of these uses will come with additional standards. These are heavier uses and usually uses that are more intense, have additional standards for, I'll say like design or like something to protect the community's health, safety, and welfare. So if there was a facility like this, then there'd be additional regulation.
Special land use?
Yeah, I would say special land use for a lot of these, if anything.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I would agree that I think that there's very few parcels that are large enough for for a number of these. I understand that we can't prohibit things, but, or different uses, but I think having, safety or sort of measures in place, checks and balances, is it possible to have a sort of a minimal size parcel, and other protections like that?
Yeah, have a minimum parcel size, yeah, of course, and then buffer between residential, commercial districts.
Well, and then as Mrs. Munoz stated earlier, this is our dream, and we don't know what parcels will be available at that point anyway. I mean, there could be something that could accommodate a lumber and building material yards
Mm-hmm.
or a solar energy system. No more outdoor storage.
Okay, no more outdoor storage.
Just outdoor storage or storage facilities in general?
So I mean, they're still building them. It's crazy. They took that old Wimbledon club on 9 Mile. Crazy. How do people have so much stuff?
I wonder how people have so much money to buy so much stuff that they can afford to rent a place to store the stuff.
Are there any other uses that you would like to just cross off now?
I'm thinking of one Mr. DeHaan would comment on if he was here.
The junkyard.
Well, okay, no junkyard.
It's on the list. What would Mr. DeHaan say?
Only thing I think that is appealing is the packaging, because so much e-commerce is growing, that a packaging and a distribution facility, nothing like a Amazon, but it might be something that a small business could support and could create some local employment. That's the only one I see interest on this list.
Thank you.
We can take junkyard off.
Okay.
I don't think I see a lumberyard, do we?
Madam Chair, also,
I don't mind the
May.
lumber yard. Yes, please.
I believe there has been conversation, both within the city administration and appointed officials, and also with some of the regional transit about a transportation center. There's been conversations about 8 and Gratiot being an ideal place.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that actually for years.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And that is a great corner for that.
Although I did think of a heavy equipment company that would probably be very welcome in East Point. Apollo?
Ms. Holman, are those just still up in the air discussions? There's nothing that's sounding concrete yet?
There's nothing signed in concrete at all. There's been discussions with SMART. They actually were looking at the Stevens site several years ago, actually, and not at 8 and Gratiot. 8 and Gratiot is the major part of it is one owner, and then there's some of the outlots are owned by other. But that is all privately owned at this time.
Does that owner still live in China? Is that where he lived?
We have differing information.
Ah, yes, please.
If I may, so are there any concrete plans at all for the 8 and Gratiot area? Like
No,
any
not-
way we could convince them to put a big box store like IKEA or Target in it?
You don't think it's big enough for an IKEA?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not big enough for an IKEA. So no plans.
Maybe they'll want to do a boutique version.
IKEA?
Yeah, there you go.
Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, there are plans for 8 and Gratiot. It's called the Gratiot Gateway. And it's stated in the master plan, the vision for this, 8 in Gratiot is called the Gratiot Gateway. So we envision taller buildings, more density, more
I was
regional
meaning-
uses.
Yeah, I was just meaning more, is there something actively on the books to happen right now as opposed to something more visionary down the line? I know.
Yes, the Gratiot Gateway is on the books. It's happening right now.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
The majority of the land that's privately owned there was actually in line as a medical marijuana applicant that was not granted a license. So, again, on the wish list.
Just throwing Target out. And Target will house a Starbucks, so then there's that.
Twofer.
I still say the mixed use for that area. Housing, mixed use, which can have a Starbucks.
Exactly. So you should say.
Are you ready to move on to the
Yes,
development
please.
process?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it. Good job, everybody. Okay, so you received 2 handouts in addition to your packet. Should be sitting in front of you on your desk. But these are flowcharts that we made to describe the different types of development review options and the process each development review has. And we also made a flowchart to describe the site plan and special land use process. The main things that you see in worksheet 4, which is really just draft text, it's not much of a worksheet this time, guys. But the main changes you see are we added the administrative sketch plan review. So that is, the sketch plan is kind of like middle tier development review option. It is for projects, as you can see on your development review options and processes handout, item 2, sketch plan. The project does not propose construction of new principal building, and the building official determines the project meets minor modification standards and does not require a special land use or variance. These are for smaller scale projects like additions, additions, any.
Would that be like,
renovation.
pardon, but would that be like something we looked at earlier this evening?
100%.
Yes.
Perfect example. Something like this that is straightforward, no additional planning procedures are needed, like a special land use or variance. It's very minor in detail, and the applicant would then submit their sketch plan. We have lists of all of the items required in the sketch plan in the packet, and then the plans are reviewed by the building official or the person the building official assigns the project to, which might be the planner. The reason why it's very important to have this administrative review process is because it fast tracks the development process and fast tracks businesses to open up. So these are just for minor projects. They don't have to sit through the stages of meeting after meeting for a minor addition to their business. It also reduces barriers of cost to entry for a developer. We know that public meetings and scheduling time to come here and paying for a site plan review and paying for a professionally drawn site plan and paying for the meeting notices costs money. So administrative review process reduces barriers of entry for a developer. And then last is that the RRC, the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program, recommends and I think maybe even requires communities to have an administrative review option for their businesses in their city. So these are all the items of why we need a sketch plan option. And the second thing that we changed in the zoning ordinance is with the special land use review. Currently, our special land use review in the city of East Point does not have uniform standards. You can see the ones that we listed, number 1 through 8, and the ones that we have been using just to fill in the gap because the East Point city ordinance does not have SLU review standards. But we've been using the typical items, number 1 through 8, like does the project meet the master plan? Does it impact public safety? Does it have like good circulation? And all of those standard items that are recommended by the Michigan State Extension University program. And those are the 2 major changes that we made in the development review process. Let me know if you'd like me to go through any of these flowchart handouts or answer any questions.
I like streamlined efficiency.
All right.
Do you have like in more, like how much streamlining, like is it shaving off what, a month, 2? Or how much time is reduced on this process? Do we know? Just curious.
Well, we could have asked Mr. Harris.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to quantify that, though, if you think of all the people involved.
Yeah, you think about the intake process of the site plan, the payment schedule, like all the coordination with staff, hiring your site plan professional, because site plans have to have an architect's seal or engineered seal. Then, yep, if they meet the deadline, the month deadline for the planning commission meeting, and then also, right now, we have to post them in the local newspaper and mail everyone within 300 feet of the property, the notice. So it's quite a setback.
And plus the time we spend on it as well.
Yep. That is fair.
So, in addition to the, I don't know if we fully answered, I guess we can't really quantify the amount of time, but do we know cost-wise, because I know you mentioned earlier that there's a lot of costs associated with having the applicant have to attend a public hearing and all that sort of stuff. So do we know how much of a savings there is for the applicant and for the city when we reduce the process?
Our fee schedule is supposed to be our schedule of fees of what the cost is to produce any services, and that's supposed to consider the time spent on the project, time planning commission spends on the project, all of the administrative fees, so we can look at the fee schedule for reference. Site plans and special land use fees are $1,000 non-refundable. And then we have a $2,000 mandatory escrow where we take additional fees for the administrative time, administrative consultant time in general.
So that would no longer be necessary to be passed on to the applicant, is what you're saying?
Only for minor projects. Projects that do not propose construction of new principal building and projects that the building official determines are minor and do not require additional special planning procedures. If we want to go into what we define as minor, page 16. On the top of our page, page 17, sorry, item A, minor modifications are defined. 1, in addition to an existing building that does not increase or decrease the floor area we changed this to be 25% before we printed the application, or this packet. 25% is just a cleaner number to be able to measure what a quarter of a building modification is. That's why we changed it. Then reoccupancy of buildings, changing to building height. Landscaping changes. Relocation of a trash can. So, yeah, this is, I don't know if everyone on the commission's familiar with the Redevelopment Ready program, but the Redevelopment Ready community program is through the state of Michigan, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and cities participate in order to get a full endorsement by the state and declare that we are business friendly and redevelopment ready. So they offer us a guide of standards to abide by, and one standard is to offer administrative review process.
And we just recertified for that, didn't we?
Yes, we are in the process of recertifying. But yeah, East Point is a RRC community. Why I say we are in the process of recertifying is that they have updated their standards since we have been certified. I don't know what year we were certified, but a couple.
I
Sorry?
think we've been certified and then recertified, and this would be the second or third.
Yeah, I was
So-
going to say which certification,
Yeah.
the original one or the second one?
Original goes back to, that was 2014. I think it was like a week after I started on city council.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that just shows that how people get their license renewed, because they need more training throughout their course of their life. There's new evidence or research that's erupted. So the city is now engaging in recertification again and abiding by the best practices deemed to be business friendly.
I will share a little story of the first certification that the city earned. We were one of the very first communities in Michigan to be certified. They had a big ceremony, for those of you who are familiar with the area and can remember that far back. It was held at the Holiday Inn at I-75 and John R. And they had big, huge plans for that hotel. Apparently, those plans were to become a CVS and a Tim Hortons, because that's what sits on that piece of land now.
See, you never know what'll happen.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
One of the, so first of all, there's an incredible amount of resources that the MEDC offers to RRC. But it also should be noted that we have received number of different grants that have helped us with different projects, technical assistance that have been, in fact, this process right now, we received a grant of $30,000 toward this zoning amendment process. So it is very important that we continue and remain certified.
It is good news. Love it.
Um,
Yes, sir.
The only thing I would say for the sketch plan is that that needs fire department approval, not just building official, because if you look at item A, every single thing, all 8 things, really can affect the fire department and what is being done to a building. So, you know, even putting an addition on a building may hinder a turning radius of a fire vehicle. So, it all needs to have fire department approval.
Chair?
Yes, please.
This is the sketch plan process that the planner and building department overviews, but we still always include the fire department and the clerk's office for their certificate of compliance. And that's when we would review.
I would hate them to have an addition put onto a building and then they say, no, you can't have it because we can't get our vehicle that way or something. And so just on the front end, just to review to make sure that it's all good. Even the landscaping could cover up, you know, a fire department connection or something like that. So that's where that.
So, Ms. Brashevsky, is there, can we add on, so it's in writing, that those two need to be compliant as well?
That's the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about the civil engineers for the city? To make sure that anything like that is not going to inhibit a possible easement with sewer or water or other
Isn't that
concerns,
standard?
utilities.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes, we rely on the planners to tell us when engineering review is needed.
Chair?
Yes, please. Me either.
So the city planners involved when we see the city engineers involved when we see new construction. And we actually will be seeing some new construction site plans headed our way pretty soon. There's your answer.
Wow, real new construction.
Yeah. Hopefully December or January, right?
I think last time
Give
we
or
did
take.
that, they measured things by cubits.
That's it for me.
All righty. Moving on to the second hearing of the public. Does any- Mr. Jakubiec, please welcome to our podium.
All right.
All the things that, Walt Jakubiec, East Point resident. All the things that we've talked
Excuse me,
about
Walt.
tonight.
Walt, is your mic on?
Yes. All the things that we've talked about tonight are wonderful, but we don't have the room. They're all little bitty spaces, very little area for parking. And then we have a building on a corner of Beaconsfield and 9 Mile, and nobody's done anything with that. Have we bothered to contact the bank and see if they could use the stuff that's in the bank, like the vault? And maybe we can move a doctor in there, or a dentist, or somebody that does eyeglasses, a small business that doesn't require a lot of intense traffic. And I think it's a total waste of land, what's going on at 8 Mile and Gratiot. You know, there's nothing there that's going to attract anybody. Okay, terrible. And what about that spot over there on Stevens and Gratiot? Now, that's been vacant for decades, and it's because the land is dirty, okay? I think the city at some point should invest in the city. They should have found out how much it would cost to clean that up. And a little bit every year, direct to that land and get it to the point where somebody would buy it. You can't expect every business just to jump in there and clean that up, because it's sat vacant. Now, I understand that that building across Stevens has bought that. Is that true? The storage unit, did they buy that?
Madam Chair, there isn't supposed to be a dialogue back and
Yes,
forth. during-
I know.
Okay, I would like somebody to
Sorry.
answer that. Okay.
Walt, you'll
because
have to,
That's really the big spot, okay? That and 8 Mile and Gratiot. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of places where you can put anything of size. You know, if you take a look at 9 Mile and 10 Mile, you have a sidewalk, a building, and then the housing. So what are you going to put anything that's, you know, big? You're not going to be able to do it, not in this city. Now we have a building sitting over here vacant. What is that gentleman going to do with that? You know, the old big boy? That could be used for something. And yet it just sits there. I think we should start looking at doing something with what we have right now. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Jakubiec. Anyone else? All right, second hearing of the public is closed. Moving on to training. Do we have any training tonight? Okay, training is closed. Moving on to commissioners' comments. We'll just go down the line. Ms. Radoszewski, do you have anything tonight?
No, thank you so much for helping us construct a really, really great zoning ordinance. I think that our surrounding communities are going to look to East Point zoning ordinance as a reference point. So again, like, we're making magic together. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
I have nothing else to add. I share Mara's sentiments.
Thank you. Ms. Holman? Well, I couldn't see over there who was in the corner and who wasn't. Sorry. Fire Marshal Sage, do you have anything tonight?
It's not Fire Marshal Sage.
Bum. Does anyone over there have anything?
Madam Chair, actually, yes. I don't want to take the city attorney's limelight, but the Medical Marijuana Committee is officially out of a job. So that's the best news I've heard all year. The three applicants have been notified. Actually, they're the three top scores have been notified. They will now move on to the next process. Our planners have already scheduled an afternoon that they will be meeting along with important departments, including the fire marshal, the building department, police, of course. That I believe will be the 29th of November. The goal is to get this moving as quickly as possible before planning commissions. So the planners, of course, will do this initial pre-review, make sure that all the plans, all three, are going to be demolition and new build. So they will be going over all the site plans and special land use requirements. And then when those are ready, they will be brought before planning commission. So we appreciate that the planners are actually scheduling all that and getting things moving quickly. A little bit in answer to Mr. Jakubiak, there have been several buildings that are sitting empty because they were waiting to learn whether or not they would be approved for medical marijuana. We call it 9 Mile and 94, the 9 and the bank at 9 and Beaconsfield was one of the applicants. Some of the other properties that were mentioned were also applicants. I have already seen 2 of them now have for sale signs on them. 2 of the 14 that were not awarded. So we're hoping to get things moving. We do have a new economic development manager starting on Monday, election day. I hope we don't scare him away. But we have a young man who actually lives right over here on Semro. So we are looking forward to having him join our team. Very personable and very eager and looking forward to doing some things in the city where he lives. So we appreciate that. And that will be all.
Thank you. Mr. Albright?
Thank you. I guess just supplementing what Ms. Holman stated, the Medical Marijuana Committee did hold their last meeting yesterday, and so they have been officially discharged. There were 17 finalists after, I believe, Ms. Holman, 22 initially that had applied, and some of those applicants were dismissed due to having incomplete applications, or their particular site did not meet setback requirements from, say, one of the city parks. So there were 17 finalists. There were 3 medical marijuana provisioning licenses. Those were officially announced yesterday. The 17 letters went out to all of the applicants announcing and showing what the scoring totals were. And so now if there is going to be, I hope not, but any litigation, the time that will start running is from yesterday when the letters went out. And that's all I have other than to say congratulations, Madam Chair, on a successful meeting. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Mr. Albright and Ms. Holman will have a lot of free time now, so if anyone's got any tasks for them, please send them their way. On a more serious note, about the lead issue we've had in the city, I know all of you are leaders in the community. Of course, many people in the community, I'm sure, look at you as the contact person in their life for the city. So I just wanted to make sure We're doing what we can. If someone does have a lead line, or if they don't know, actually, I don't know if all of you don't know, let me know and I can look you up. We can look up to see if they have a lead line, or they will have received, I think, probably by now since it's Thursday. In the mail, they should have received a letter stating they have a lead line. We sent them out 3 years ago, did it again. Now, of course, some people have moved out and moved in, so everybody should have personally received a letter. Knowing if they have one, make sure to tell people not to panic, like nothing has changed in the water supply, completely different situation than happened in Flint. 5 of our 30 tests per year that we do, we're over the action level, so this is why we've had to communicate this, and we've done the events where we're passing out water filters. If someone does have a lead line, I'd suggest they do use water filters for their drinking water. And the city, we still have plenty, right? Yeah, we still have plenty of pitcher filters or filters for your faucet. So if anyone comes to you, let us know. And yeah, we're down to 1,080, and over the next 5 years, we should be getting rid of the rest of those. We've set aside $1 million each year to replace the last 1,080 out of 13 or 14,000. So I think that's pretty much the main update on that, but if anyone else has questions, feel free, give me a call or anybody at the city, and be happy to talk about it. But just wanted to mention that, as I have at the other commissions I'm liaison for, so make sure everybody knows what's going on.
Thank you, Councilman DeMonico.
Sure.
Commissioner Lalonde? Commissioner Naylor?
Good evening. My apologies for the delay, but my flight didn't take off on time from New Orleans, and it's much colder here than in New Orleans. But I think just like to remind everybody that let's get out and vote. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Lubeck?
Congratulations, Madam Chair, on surviving the meeting. Hopefully we weren't too brutal on you. And also, happy 8th birthday
Oh, thank you.
that you celebrated this week. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you. Chairman Munoz?
Nothing. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, sorry, see, I did it too.
Hard ethics board tonight.
But
Yeah.
I don't have much to say. I too wanted to tell everybody to remember to get out and vote. Very important message, lots going on. And Councilman DeMonico, I am appreciative of all that you do on the social pages to get that out, because I know there was a lot of complaining because people didn't know or understand. And I'm glad you feel that. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for putting up with me tonight. Appreciate that as well. And also, happy Thanksgiving. And that's it. I was just getting there. That one I
Support.
remembered, Leo.
Support.
All right, motion adjourned.
Still need to call a roll on that.
Oh, motion, support, please call the roll. I was almost there.
Commissioner Lalonde? Commissioner Lubeck?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Naylor? Chair Ulinski?
Yes. Thank you.